fastest half hour in television is being brought to you by the United States Army. Be all that you can be.
I've always wanted to be a shortstop. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to One-on-One, and we're out in the shortstop area of a Major League ballpark, the area that Ozzie Smith of the St. Louis Cardinals patrols. And when we come back to One-on-One, we'll visit with the guy many consider the best in the business. Welcome back, everybody, and as we said, we have the greatest shortstop in Major League Baseball right now. When you talk about defense, you got to talk about Ozzie Smith because he is the vacuum cleaner out at shortstop. But Ozzie, you know something? There's been more attention paid to the fence that you've been building around your house than baseball. No, that would get a riot out of you.
That would. You know, I live in an area in St. Louis called Ladue, and they have certain city ordinances that I had no idea existed. And over the last couple weeks, I guess I've appeared in the paper a couple times, but I talked to my wife last night, and as a matter of fact, the hearing was yesterday, and you know, everything is fine, you know, so I'm going to be able to put my fence up.
Well, you know, he's smiling nicely because he knows the show is being shown along the cable network in St. Louis, and he wants to be kind because of any officials that may be watching in the future. But you know something, another thing that may bring a rise out of you, too, is once you have been to the top of the mountain, and of course you played the Kansas City Royals in the World Series, and because of a couple of plays that went one way as opposed to your way, you finished second. People tend to think that you're not supposed to have any slumps, no dry spells, 162-0.
Well, you know, our ball club, I think the thing when you talk about slumps, Eddie, more importantly than us not hitting as a team, is with the makeup of our ball club, we should be able to manufacture runs without without a lot of hitting. And, you know, the hitting, I think, is one of those things that will come. It will come with time as the season wears on. I think the thing that bothered me more than anything, we just weren't scoring runs. We weren't manufacturing runs with our good overall team speed. And, you know, over the last couple days, we've started hitting the ball a little bit better, and we're starting to make things happen on the base passes our ball club has to do. It's not a sit-around type of offense. We have to get out there and force the defense to make plays, and that's where all of our winning comes from.
Let's play the name game for just a moment with your St. Louis Cardinals. And before we talk about how the hitting can die down for a moment and then pick up again, let me ask you about Willie McGee, because I've seen Willie McGee run from first to home, and I got to believe it's in the blink of an eye.
I tell you, you know, it's people always talk about the excitement that this team creates for fans. It also creates a lot of excitement for us as players too. You know, to be able to sit down there and watch guys achieve as Willie has achieved over the last. We came here at the same time in 1982. He came over from the Yankees and I came over from the Padres, and to watch him develop and you know, turn in his finest season last year. And one thing that people may not know about Willie McGee, he's trying to find ways to make himself better than he was last year, you know, and I think the early part of the season he put a lot of pressure on himself by wanting to be much better than he was last year, and I don't know if that's possible. But he's a guy that continues to work hard, he strives, and trying to improve himself in every aspect of the game.
Is McGee faster than Vince Coleman?
Well, you know, people, we've never had a one-on-one race, but, you know, you watch Willie do certain things and you go, gee, he's faster than Vince. And then you watch Vince do certain things and you go, gee, he's faster than Willie. So it's one of those things where we really don't know, and of course we don't advocate them going out and running against each other, but both of them are learning the game a lot better now. They're running the bases with the fluidity with which they run the bases, I think is probably one of the most exciting things for me as a player.
Both of them cover the outfield equally well?
They do. You know, they do a super job out there, and you know, this is not boasting or anything, but you know, it could be, our outfield could very well be the best defensive outfield in baseball, you know, with all the ground that they cover, and usually what they get to, they catch.
Is Vince Coleman working to be better at the plate? He's been striking out at a clip of 100 plus per season, which has obviously irritated Whitey Herzog just a little bit.
You know, Vince is very young, and you know, the one thing that I think is going to make him a better player is to cut down on the number of strikeouts, put the ball in play. I think it was just up until last year, nobody had really sat him down and told him what his role as a leadoff hitter is. He's one of those guys that's always had a lot of speed, so people quite naturally put him at the top of the lineup and say, now just go out there and try and hit the ball on the ground and run. And I think after last year, going through everything that we went through and having sat down and visited with him during the winter, I think now he's starting to get an idea of what it is to be an effective leadoff hitter.
Is there any pressure on your ace, John Tudor, to feel that he's got to pick up for the absence of a walking Andujar?
I don't think so. We don't let guys put pressure like that on themselves. You know, hey, we say it's a total team effort around here. Everybody has to pitch in, and it's a thing of wanting to be a part, not wanting to be it.
St. Louis, what is the makeup, the character of this ball club when you're having a cold spell like you had early in 1986?
Well, you know, of course the spirit is not as high as it would be if you were winning, Eddie, and people always say, well, how's the spirit, how does the team feel? We feel bad. You know, we're the people that's going out there every day and having to produce, and when we're not doing it, then we don't feel as good as we would if we were winning. So it's one of those things where you all have to reach down together. You have to stick together. You know, it's very easy when things are not going well to point and say that it's your fault or your fault or your fault, and that's the one thing that we try and stay away from. We go out there and we give 100% day in and day out, and if you do that, things are going to turn around if you continue to work hard.
For Ozzie Smith, in 30 seconds now, before we go to the commercial break, the St. Louis Cardinals, are they a better ball club in 86 than 85, even though you can finish second and still be a better ball club than you were the previous season and have won the World Series the previous season?
That's right. People don't understand that. I strongly feel, you know, I've been here 4 years and I've been to the World Series 2 times. I feel more positive about this ball club than any of the other ones that I've played on here, and I think that says a lot for the 1986 St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay, folks, especially you youngsters out there, the Wiz will be talking about his magistry at shortstop when we come back from these commercial breaks. Stay with us. Ozzie Smith is our guest.
There's a line drive. Ozzie!
Welcome back, everybody. The fastest half hour in television. That's one-on-one, and we're visiting with the guy that everybody considers the epitome of Major League shortstops, and that's Ozzie Smith of the St. Louis Cardinals, who is fast proving that you don't have to be a big man. You turn sideways in the rain, you might not get wet.
That's right. Well, you know, I've always been like this, Eddie, and people have always questioned, you know, whether or not, you know, size has anything to do with what you achieve. And I've always told people that it's what you have in your heart. If you have the determination and the desire, you can achieve whatever it is you like to achieve.
You know, the most important thing, and you weren't really noted that much for hitting with the San Diego Padres, but going over to St. Louis, I don't know what you've worked on, you can explain it, but you have turned into somebody special at the plate, too, right and left-handed.
Well, I think, Eddie, the thing is, being, as we talked about off camera, is learning the game, getting it together mentally, you know, what your approach is and what type of hitter you would like to be. I think it's years before you really settle into the type of offensive player that you're going to be. I think people get labels early in their career, and you know, at some point in time, especially when you're young, you really haven't developed the strength that you're going to have later on in your career. So it's hard to say exactly what type of hitter a person's going to be. For myself, I've had to listen to a lot of people. I've taken a little here and thrown away a little there, and I came up early in 1978 after spending 1 year in the minor league. So my learning as far as offense is concerned has been here on the job, and I've had a lot of people that I've worked real hard with. Lee Fisher, who is a hypnotist and baseball man. My coaches, Dave Ricketts here with the Cardinals, Johnny Lewis. I've also worked with a guy in San Diego by the name of Bill Allen. And you know, it's all these things that I've gotten from these people that I have now in the last 3 years started putting it all together. And I think the ingredients that I put in have become pretty good.
I guess so, and I'll tell you something else. You know, I watched you in an early series against the Mets at Busch Stadium. And I watched you field a ground ball and then do something that Ozzie Smith just never does. You threw the ball away, and the first thing I thought about when the ball went sailing by the second baseman, something must be wrong with the arm, because there were reports that there might be a rotator cuff surgery or something. And of course, obviously, that's not happening because you're playing, but that's what I thought about when I saw that errant throw.
Well, no, Eddie, you know, what happens is that, you know, when you come out of spring training, you play, especially the last couple of weeks, you play every day. And what happens is you get tired, and, you know, as the season wears on, you know, it's the early part of the season, but it still doesn't mean that you can't be tired and so forth and so on. So mentally, sometimes the mental exhaustion doesn't allow you to do the things that you normally do. And I'm not making any excuses. That was just a bad throw. You know, I just didn't get myself in proper position, and the ball kind of slipped out of my hand there a little bit. And errant throws, and it's going to happen. The physical errors are going to happen as long as we play this game of baseball, and the one thing that you try and stay away from is the mental errors.
Ozzie Smith, everybody says there's room for improvement. You are perhaps the best at what you do, especially in the field. Is there any room for improvement in Ozzie Smith's game? There's
always room for improvement, Eddie. The thing that I'm trying to work on this year, and I told myself coming into the season, and, you know, I have not mentioned this to anybody else on camera, you know, I want this to be my best offensive and my best defensive year. You know, I want to make as few errors as I've made since playing here in the big leagues, and you know, I don't think that's totally out of the realm of reality. The thing that comes to mind, anytime I have to go to my left or right 4 or 5 feet, the first thing that comes to mind is dive. And when we talk about dive, I'm not talking about diving like you dive into a swimming pool. You know, there's a certain way that I do it. You know, I've been asked this question a lot, so I've been able to analyze exactly how I do it. You know, I do it here, when I dive and come up at the same time. You know, you do it with an arch in your back so that your momentum will carry you right up and you get in a good throwing position, you know, when you do come up. You know, you don't just dive straight out and stay down. Everything is predicated on being able to get yourself, get that arch in your back so that when you do hit the ground, you're coming up. So actually, I'm diving here on my sternum with an arch in my back, and I'm coming up and feeling the ball at the same motion. And being able to turn and throw to whatever base I have to throw to. Another important thing when you're talking about fielding is that after you've knocked the ball down, you don't want to go at that ball with your glove. You want to go at it with your bare hand, because to go in there and to pick it up with the glove and then have it go in and take it out gives the guy an extra step.
Ozzie Smith is the guy with 2 out in the 9th inning you're leading by a run and the bases are loaded, you want the ball hit to you.
You have to, Eddie, in every situation out there, anytime that you say that, and I don't know if you've ever seen this, but you watch when there's a defensive move made, it seems like it happens all the time. That ball goes to that guy that the defensive play was made, you know, the defensive switch. You know, if a guy is sent into right field, that's where the ball goes. If a guy is sent into second base, that's where the first ball goes, you know. So it's one of those things where you have to tell yourself that I want the ball hit to me at all times. I want to be the guy to make the play. Because the minute you say that I hope the ball's not hit to me, look out.
You left the garden spot of California, San Diego. How's St. Louis?
It's great, Eddie. You know, in San Diego, everything was, the weather and everything was beautiful there, but there weren't a lot of things for me outside of the game of baseball. In St. Louis, it's such a town rich in tradition. When I say tradition, you're still able to touch people like Stan Musial, Bob Gibson, Marty Marions. You know, you walk, anywhere you walk there, it's baseball that people are talking about. In the middle of football season, you know, people were talking about baseball, getting to baseball season. There's 3 feet of snow on the ground. They say, let's fire it up tomorrow, you know. So baseball is definitely the thing in that town, and with all the tradition that goes along with Cardinal baseball there, it's been real exciting for me and my family.
Well, one thing you got to know, folks, this guy right here is living the life he loves, and he loves the life he's living. The Wizard of Oz of the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll be back with Ozzie Smith in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody, for the final segment of One-on-One. We're visiting with the magician, Ozzie Smith of the St. Louis Cardinals. And Ozzie, looking at your hand, your left and your right, and seeing the runner-up, the National League Championship ring on your right hand, and then looking at the World Series title ring on your left hand, I got to think that there are just not too many goals left for you. Not too many things that could get you excited other than, say, 3 days in a row of great sunshine in St. Louis.
Well, you know, Eddie, as much as, you know, we talk about, you know, winning and so forth and so on, I think having gone over to St. Louis, I've learned that that is the only thing. You know, you want to finish at the top. You know, you don't like finishing second. That's why we feel that coming into 1986, our mission was not accomplished in 1985, you know, so it's still ahead of us until we are able to capture that title that we think eluded us last year. I don't think all of my things will be, my goals and everything will be accomplished.
You know, it's a funny thing. In San Diego, you got used to losing. Sportscasters got used to describing different ways of saying the Padres lost today. But in St. Louis, winning is the thing. As a matter of fact, when you had your losing streak, that was shocking.
That was shocking, you know, and as we talked about, especially with the type of ball club that we have, I think what happens when you come there is that people expect so much of you. The club, the organization has always won. People expect you to win and to carry yourself in a certain manner. And, you know, it's the type of thing that I've enjoyed since going over. And some people handle things a little bit differently, Eddie. You know, some people that I've seen that have come to the organization really do not know what it is to go through a full season with the Cardinals and what winning is all about. And I think after their first year there, or after their first 6 weeks or so there, they start grasping and feeling a part of what Cardinal baseball is all about, the tradition and the fun and the excitement that people bring to the ballpark. You know, you look up there in the stands in St. Louis and it's a sea of red, you know, every day out there. You know, people wear their red and white, and it's just exciting to go to the ballpark, and not to mentioning opening days when the Clydesdale pounce around on the field there. And it's very exciting, and it's been fun for me, my 5 years there, and like I say, playing for a manager like Whitey Herzog makes it a lot of fun.
But you know one thing, you got to be aware of one thing. If you win too much more, when you put your hand down on the table, you won't be able to lift it up.
Well, you know, that's... I
like this one, by the way. You like this one better than you like the World Series ring.
I like the style of it a lot better.
This is the National League ring here.
The National League Championship ring here, and this is our World Series ring. And, you know, they're both very nice. They're both very heavy, like you say. You know, I wouldn't mind not being able to pick my hand up if I can feel all my fingers.
St. Louis Cardinals. It's a young ball club with a good mixture of veterans, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, I found myself in the situation last year to where I was one of the veterans, you know, at the age of 30, you know, and I think it puts a little bit of added pressure on you as an older guy, trying to relate to the younger guys, you know, what it is to go out and win and compete every day. There's a difference between going out to win and going out to compete. And, you know, trying to relay that to the younger guys. You know, it's not, it's like a record now out by Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately? You know, it's not really what you did yesterday, but, you know, can you do that same thing today and the day after and the day after?
Manager Whitey Herzog made the comment not too long ago that St. Louis and the Mets, two great ball clubs beating up on each other. You see it that way?
I think so. You know, I don't want to say that, you know, it's going to be strictly between us and the Mets, because I think that the parity in this division the competition is very close in this division. So, you know, I know it's going to be a dogfight. Whoever wins this thing, I don't think that the team that wins is going to win 101 games as we did last year, but it's going to be close. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And speaking of that, we have had an awful lot of fun, probably the most we've had in a long time, visiting with the Oz. And of course, we're here in the beautiful Oz. That's appropriate, high above San Francisco, looking out on the bay. And we'll see you as you come our way again next week for One-on-One. Thanks, Oz.
Thank you, Eddie.
Ozzie Smith of the St. Louis Cardinals. See you, folks.
One-on-One has been brought to you by the United States Army. Be all that you can be.